guys? Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to pull up his bio. Some of you new people may not know too much about Dr. O. So Dr. Gene Orlowsky, also known as Dr. O, I always refer to him as Dr. O, was born and raised in upstate New York. He was educated as a teacher and received both his bachelor's and his master's degree in education from the State University of New York. Following a serious back injury, which resolved through chiropractic care, he moved to California to attend the Los Angeles College of Chiropractic. He has been in private practice in the San Gabriel Valley since 1980. Dr. Orlowsky is board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, and disability evaluation. He is one of the few chiropractors in California that was both a state-appointed independent medical examiner and qualified medical evaluator. He was on the adjunct postgraduate faculties of the Southern California University of Health Sciences in Whittier, California, and Parker University in Dallas, Texas for over 3 decades. He has lectured nationally and internationally for over 35 years and is a recognized expert in the fields of medical malpractice, personal injury, health and wellness, and spinal rehabilitation. Dr. Orlowsky was twice voted Doctor of the Year for the Western United States and was a chiropractic volunteer at Ground Zero, wow, in October of 2001. I don't think I knew that. Oh my gosh, incredible. He has served several terms as vice president of the San Gabriel Chiropractic Association, as well as past president of both the San Marino Chamber of Commerce and the San Marino Rotary Club. Okay, you have to tell me what year were you president of the San Marino Rotary Club? You're muted.
92, 93.
92, 93. Oh, okay. Dr. Orlowsky was a competitive swimmer and bodybuilder and was a runner-up in the Mr. California and Mr. Western America contest. He is the author of several professional workbooks and 2 books, The Principles of Inner Success and Life Quotes for Successful Daily Living. He recently finished his 3rd book entitled The Dynamic Keys to Natural Health, How to Get Well and Stay Well for a Lifetime. And before you all came on, he told us he's working on 5 other books. So he's very accomplished. He lives in Arcadia, California with his wife, Mary, and their 2 German shepherds, Conan and Heidi. He has 3 grown children, Christopher, Marissa, and Sean, and 3 grandchildren, Jackson, Ella, and Ava. He is currently director of the Geo Chiropractic Clinic and will celebrate 42 years this July. Wow. His hobbies include traveling, hockey, writing, and playing the trumpet. I give you Dr. Gene Orlowsky.
Bravo.
Thank you.
And I am just going to pull up your slideshow. Give me one moment. Okay, from the beginning.
She's got it. Well, I'm very glad to be here today to speak to you. I wish it was in person because I love getting up on the stage and presenting to lay people as well as professionals, which mostly I speak to. But it's kind of fun to do a craft talk again because I did my first craft talk at San Marino Rotary in 1985. And I remember when I first got to Rotary, the first person I met was Ken Veranda. And Ken came up to me and said, Gene, why would you ever want to join a club like this? The average age is 75. And I was the youngest person in Rotary at the time. And I looked around the room and I said, Ken, I see a lot of bad backs here. And so that's how I got started at San Marino Rotary. You can change the slide, Gilda. I was born and raised in upstate New York, and this is my family. This picture was taken about 20 years ago when everybody was together and alive. My dad was a CB in the Navy and an electrical engineer for Bell Telephone. He was also an accomplished marksman, and we lived near West Point, and he was the West Point amateur civilian pistol champ in 1958 And those are for veterans who took up the art of marksmanship. My mom was valedictorian of her class at Hurleyville High and an accomplished pianist and organist at our Hurleyville Methodist Church. My sister in the middle just retired as a teacher from the Fallsburg school system where we all went to school. And my brother Bob just retired from, he was executive management in the retail business. And he worked for some major companies like Big V Supermarkets in New York. He worked for Walmart, and under his jurisdiction was one of the world, actually the largest Walmart store in the world that was so big that you needed a golf cart to drive around because it was about 2 miles long. And that was in Wallkill, New York. And so my brother and sister still live in the same place, and that's my siblings. Next slide. This is where I grew up in upstate New York. My brother sent me this picture last year before he was getting ready to snow blow the driveway. And as you see, there's about 4 feet of snow on the ground. And this is the main reason that I live in Southern California. I like looking up on the mountains and seeing the snow, but I don't want to be in it. In 1971, when I was student teaching in Glens Falls, New York, I slipped and fell down a flight of icy stairs, 16 steps, broke my back in 3 places and herniated a disc, and was disabled for about a year as a result of it. So that's why I live in Southern California and why I'm here with you today. Next slide. Growing up, I went to Fallsburg Central High School, and it was a very, very unique school system because it's very much like San Marino. Has about the same volume. We had about 100 kids per class, and it was what they call the blue ribbon school in your day. We were one of the top schools in New York State. I excelled in swimming. I was an All-American, high school All-American, and the picture of me touching up is a very interesting picture. This was a picture I took out of the Times Herald Record newspaper, and I know exactly when this took place because this was the day before Thanksgiving. And we had a nice big Thanksgiving lunch at school, got on the bus, and then we headed down to West Point. This was at the West Point pool at the U.S. Military Academy. And I had just set the record for the county record for the 100-yard butterfly. I touched up, the guy took the picture, and I jumped out and I threw up all over the pool deck. So all the turkey dinner I had about 2 hours before that ended up on the pool deck. And that was something that every time I finished, everybody would look to make sure that I wasn't going to throw up on the pool. The next slide, the next picture over is getting ready for me to play a solo for the Hertz annual concert. I was a trumpet aficionado. I played solo trumpet in elementary, in junior high, high school, and in college. My music teacher wanted me to go into music, but for me, it was an avocation, not a vocation. But I played the trumpet 2 to 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you could always hear me if you drove by the house. And I played to Herb Alpert and to Al Hurt and Rafael Mendez. And at the time, all the great trumpeters, I could keep up with them. Not anymore. I still play the trumpet, but I don't have a lip anymore. Next slide. So this is at home with Heidi and Conan. I always like to show off the dogs. They're most amazing dogs you can ever imagine. We've had 8 puppies, so can you imagine 10 German Shepherds running around your house? I got so attached to them, I wouldn't give them to anyone except for relatives. So all my relatives have our puppies, and they're all 10 years old now and still alive. Heidi and Conan are 13, and they still look great. And they're our pride for Mary and I. My wife, Mary, is a 33-year veteran flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. She still works a couple of flights a month. She does mostly Hawaii, so we spend a lot of time in Hawaii. And this year I actually got to fly with her several times. So I spent about 6 times in Hawaii. She's also a nutritionist and a wellness counselor, and she got her certification from Columbia University in New York at the Teachers College there. So she did that for a while. And when we retire, she's going to go into nutritional counseling. Next slide. This is my family. And this picture was taken about 4 weeks ago at my son Sean's wedding. Sean in the middle and his wife Brianne met each other at Arcadia High School. Brianne couldn't leave. She's a teacher at Arcadia High, just got her master's degree. And Sean owns a medical supply business. To the far left is my son-in-law Bobby, who was a Division I wrestler. And Jackson in the middle is right now with his father in Maryland at a big national tournament. And he's already won 3 national tournaments at age 6 in the 43-pound class. His mother, Marissa, is a graduate of Cal State Fullerton, and she's an interior designer. Next to her is my former wife, Julie, which many of you know. We're great friends. We get along really, really well. And I have to say that both my present and my former wife are very, very close. They're like sisters. To my far left, to my far right is Christopher, who worked in my office. Many of you knew him. He graduated from Nichols College in Boston with a degree in business administration. And he was a college hockey player. He came to work for me, and I was hoping he would go to chiropractic school and take over the office, but he likes emergencies. So he joined the fire company, and he just finished his paramedic training, and he's a firefighter paramedic with Glendale. And my cute little girl there, Ava, no, this is Ella. Ava's not here. She was too young she was just turned a year old, so she didn't go to the wedding. But Ella is sharp as a tack. She's in preschool at Arcadia. And the interesting thing is all the grandkids have had the same teachers that all of my kids had. They're all still there. Some of them have been there for 30 or 40 years. So we're really, really happy with that. Next slide. This is 1980 when I first started. And as a joke, my office manager just took a picture of me this Wednesday. So this is 42 years of practice. When I graduated, I went to work for John Fee and Leroy Perry in Pasadena, which were the major sports medicine clinic in the world. We took care of the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Kings. I learned working on Wilt Chamberlain and working on many of the stars. A couple of my favorite patients were Elizabeth Taylor. I loved working on her, and she would always kiss me on the forehead like a grandson when I worked on her. She was almost 70 at the time, and of course I was 30, but it was a lot of fun. And another one of my favorite patients was Ricardo Montalban from Fantasy Island. And you remember Ricardo lately with the Cordoba commercials, where he'd stand there and you'd see this big macho guy go Cordoba. Well, when I saw him in the exam room, he weighed about 130 pounds, was 5'3". I could actually take my fingers and put them around his knees. He was so small. And I'll never forget when I finished examining him, he said, Gene, he said, you know, when you get to my age, you wish for 2 things. You wish for a good night's sleep and then a bowel movement in the morning. And I'll tell you, every time I saw those Cordova commercials, I would just crack up because that's what I remember about Ricardo Montalban. We had a lot of fun times up there. I worked there for 5 years. And finally, one of my patients, Tom Sullivan, good friend of Dennis Neers from LA5, another past president over there, decided to build an office for me in San Marino. He said, you can't work up here on Lake Avenue anymore. We need to get you in San Marino. And he happened to be renovating the old Jurgensen's building, and that's how I got down there. I didn't have any money, so Tom was on the board of a bank, took me to lunch in South Pass, in an elegant restaurant, and sat down with the bank manager, and we didn't say anything except have a lunch. And all of a sudden I had a loan for $300,000, and they built out Geo Chiropractic in San Marino, which opened in 1980 or 1985. When I got to Mission Street, obviously I was the youngest business on Mission Street. And now, I hate to say it, but I'm the oldest business on Mission Street and the senior business. Just a few months after me, Julianne opened, and a few months later, Tony Jacoy opened right next door to me. Next slide. I do a lot of lecturing. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and I traveled nationally and internationally. This was actually my last talk before we closed down for COVID. This was in November of 2019, and it was for the chiropractic college at Parker University. So there's about 1,000 students that we would always have professionals come from all over the country to help and educate these people and get them motivated, getting them ready to get out and get into practice. I also speak to lay groups and large groups. My largest group was about 10,000 people in Las Vegas. And I just love getting them up in front of a crowd and educating them on how to be and stay healthy. Next slide. This is in my practice, and Nathaniel was one of my youngest patients, who was 5 days old at the time. And his mom brought him in. He'd been to the pediatrician several times, and he wouldn't stop crying. If he was awake, he was crying. He didn't sleep. He had trouble eating and had severe colic. So 3 visits with a non-force adjusting instrument normalized his autonomic nervous system, and he returned to normal. And he's now 5 years old and is a great, healthy young man. On the other side is one of my favorite patients. We just lost her last year, but Mary was 104. And I asked her, I said, what is the key to your longevity? And she would dance every week. And she danced even into over 100 years old. She did everything. She was on no medications. She had her entire mind, and her body was in good shape, except that it was a little arthritic. And her only problem was that she couldn't drive anymore, which very much upset her. And here she is with me and my daughter, Marissa. So we have an entire, our practice is basically a family practice. When I first started many, many years ago, I was a sports medicine practice, and my average age of my patients was about 30. And now, 42 years later, the average age of my patient is 75. And I want to tell you, some of the health and wellness things we do with our patients is really amazing. And I have over 50 patients I see on a monthly basis that within the next 5 years will turn 100. And they're all functioning, they're moving and feeling very, very well. Next slide. Well, this picture was taken on March 16th, 2020 on Mission Street. It's Dr. Mike and myself in front of our office. And if you notice Mission Street, there's not one single car on the street. There's no cars driving by. There's no cars parked. And this is what we dealt with for about 3 months in the initial COVID quarantine. We were the only business open on the street. Our practice went from seeing 150 visits a day to 7 visits a day. And we went through a tough 3 or 4 month period, but little by little, people started coming back because they had back pain or they needed issues that we needed to work with on a health and wellness basis. So from there, things have gone back up. We've had a couple of ups and downs, mainly because of the COVID surges. We had about 40 cancellations 2 weeks ago when I talked to JP about whether we should meet or not. And I decided not to go to Rotary because of the age of my patients. I wanted to make sure that we stayed healthy and we didn't become a super spreader for COVID. So I determined to self-quarantine myself other than practice in home during this time. So I was very glad to do this on Zoom, although I would much rather have been here in person. Next slide. Before I jump into this, as a craft talk, Gilda wanted me to mention some things about Rotary. And like I said, I've been in Rotary for 37 years. When I got to Rotary and we saw all those bad backs, my first 3 bad backs into the office was Frank Wyrick, Bill Steele, and John Harris. And getting those guys on the table, they don't shut up. And what they talked about was the Rotary Foundation. And they said how important it was to support the foundation and the work that it did. And so I became a major donor for the foundation very early, and I donate every year, and I encourage every single one of you to do that. And the reason I do is because of what I learned from Frank Wyrick, who incidentally was I think at the time our only arch clump award winner, which means he had donated over $250,000 to the foundation. And I believe Lee Mothershed is also an Arch Club Foundation member. But I think it's very, very important because this is a way that we can sit home and we can affect what happens worldwide. A few of my loves with Rotary is the San Marino Motor Classic, of course. And I just love working it. I work it all day. I usually start with registration. I jump over to the VIP luncheon. I help Rob troubleshoot whatever he needs, and then help Aaron hand out the awards at the end of the day. And it's just one of the things that I just really, really love is the community service and the community support. The other thing I really love to do is the 4th of July parade. And I've been one of the coordinators for about 25 years now. And I'm always standing out in the middle of Monterey Avenue, trying to line up all the VIPs and the dignitaries. And we have about 150 entries. So it's kind of organized chaos for about 2 hours or so. And it's been always very, very smooth. You know, I always get my harassment from Steve Tall, who wants his car under the shade, and Judy Chu, who wants to make sure that they're not going to throw water balloons at her when she goes through Monterey Street. But we always have a fun time, and it's just a great, great community event. And then we finish off, of course, with the Lacey Park 4th of July celebration. My other love is La Casa. And Wayne Carter was the chairman of that, and he twisted my arm into going, and I fell in love with it, both my wife and I. And we've gone every year. And when Wayne turned it over, it was to me and Pete Corzo, and we've been doing it for about the last 10 years. And those are the events that, because we can really see what Rotary does in the community, and it's a hands-on. One of the things I love, not only my hands-on with my patients, but I love to be hands-on in the community as well. So we love it. You know, when I first came to San Marino, Peggy Class came to visit me, and she goes, if you want to be successful in San Marino, you need to be in the chamber and you need to be in Rotary. And she said, and you need to participate. So I took that at heart back in 1985 and have been doing it ever since, and really, really, really love it. Next slide. One of the things that I want to do today is, as I close in the next few minutes, is I want to talk to you about safety procedures, because one of the things we've had is a really, really excellent success record with keeping patients safe. And again, you know, our primary goal had been to relieve pain, restore health, and prolong life. But now our primary goal is to keep people safe and keep people alive. So I want to explain a little bit about what we do in the office. And I also want to explain about what you can do at home to keep you and your family safe. First of all, with COVID, we know that it's a respiratory virus, and it spreads as an aerosol through the air. Although we don't see a lot of it, there's actually 7 strains of the COVID virus and 7 variants of the COVID SARS-2. And the big problem with this virus is that it is a virus that affects people with comorbidities. And the biggest comorbidities that we see are people that are over age 70, which includes myself, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, lowered immune function, COPD, chronic asthma, patients on immunosuppressant drugs, and cancer patients. So these are all the ones that are most likely to be affected by COVID. And so because we have an older population in the office, it is just very imperative that we stick to all the screening procedures to make sure that our patients stay safe. When you call our office, if you're not a regular patient, you'll be asked if you have flu symptoms, have you been exposed to anyone with COVID-19? If you have, we won't let you come in until you have a negative test. And of course, we want to know if you're vaccinated. And although I'm a natural health care professional, and I believe in conservative care first, drugs second, surgery last, the exception is the vaccine, because we know that people who are vaccinated are much less likely to be hospitalized and much, much less likely to die from COVID. So I highly recommend all of you get vaccinated if you haven't. And I know some of it's from for political means. And unfortunately, COVID happened during a political year, so it became a political issue. But I just want to keep this totally a wellness, health and wellness issue and keep people safe. So these are the recommendations we recommend in the office. Everyone is required to wear a mask. We sanitize every room with every patient. We limit the reception area. Normally we hold 20 to 30 people, and we limit our reception area to 5. Our sign-in pens are single use and then they're sterilized. There's no reading materials in the office anymore because we don't want them being passed off hand to hand. And then the doctors and staff use hand sanitizer between each patient encounter. So we're pretty good at keeping people safe. Next slide. Now, what I tell patients at home, and this is the important thing because COVID spreads mostly in households. It's an indoor disease. You can go outside, you can go to functions. Odds are you probably won't get COVID outside. We were worried about the baseball games and the football games, and there doesn't seem to be a rise of COVID because of outside activities, but it's the inside activities that are the problem. So we recommend you wear a mask, and the CDC guidelines just came out this week that the KN and the N95 are the best masks. The research shows that they are 80 to 95% effective. The medical masks, surgical masks are only 72% effective, and a bandana over your face is only 40% effective. So stick with the more effective masks, and they're going to be very readily available in the next couple of weeks. We recommend you wash your hands as much as possible, particularly at home, and you can use hand sanitizer. Go online though, because there's a lot of toxic hand sanitizers, and we use one called GenX, GENX, in the office, and that is probably one of the safest for your hands. It's 100% effective, and yet it's not going to give you any problems with your hands. The second thing is keep your hands out of your face. And you don't realize it, but we actually touch our face 3,000 times a day. And so we'll rub our nose, we'll scratch our head, we'll poke our ear, we'll rub our eyes. And again, you don't want to get COVID in your eyes or any of those areas, which is very, very dangerous. We recommend social distancing in public and to stay home as much as possible. I still have not been in an indoor sit-down restaurant for 2 years. I don't go to bars. I don't go to the movies. I don't go to public events. The only public event that I went to was my son's wedding, and we COVID tested 220 people at the door and had all negative tests. So you have to be safe, and you have to be very, very effective. Next page. The last thing I want to talk about is some palliative recommendations. And as far as general recommendations, we want to keep your immune system strong. Keep your sugars and sweets to a minimum because they depress the immune system. Try to exercise regularly. That increases immunity. Get a good night's sleep. Most people don't realize it, but growth and repair takes place while you sleep. Healing takes place while you sleep. So make sure you get a good 6 to 9 hours of sleep. With COVID, everybody's been very stressed. We see people that do nothing but watch TV and drink wine every night and wonder why they've gained 30 pounds, and then they get sick and then they get COVID. So again, try to keep your stress under control. Do outdoor activities, go walk your dog, listen to some music, but get outside. That's the most important thing. And again, to keep a positive mental attitude. These are the things that are so important. One of the doctors that I've had the opportunity to lecture with many times is Herbert Jensen. He's an MD. He's the director of the Harvard Mind Body Institute. He's written 26 books on how your mind affects your body and affects your health. And one of the things he says is that a positive attitude is the initial way that the body heals. So when you have a positive attitude, it releases endorphins into your midbrain, which is Houston control. That's where your blood pressure, your heart rate, your respiration, all those things come from. And if you can give a positive attitude response to your subconscious mind, it will help the body stay healthy. Next page. And lastly, there's some real important supplementation that everybody needs to take on a regular basis. Vitamin C is excellent for the system. And in the hospital, I don't know if you know it, but what they've been doing is they've been doing IV drips of 50 grams of vitamin C, which was one of the big things that eliminated the cytokine storm when you had the acute lower respiratory symptoms. The second thing is vitamin D3. And there's a lot of good articles on it. I pulled all these up just this week. And the one on vitamin C comes from the National Institutes of Health, November 2021. Vitamin D3, take at least 5,000 milligrams a day. Those of you who have had your physicals in the last couple of years, you notice your MD now checks your vitamin D3 level because it's so important for immunity, and deficiency in vitamin D3 was found in 90% of the deaths the first year of COVID-19. So very, very important. If you want to help strengthen your immune system, get some vitamin D3. The next one is zinc. Zinc is very important. It again helps the immune system and improves immune function. In acute COVID cases, it inhibits virus replication and slows the progression of the disease. Quercetin is another one. It's a bioflavonoid part of the C complex. It's an inflammasome and is particularly effective for inflammation in the respiratory system. And the dosage of that is 250 a day. And that is found in the Journal of Inflammation, January 28th, 2021. The last one is an amino acid. Just like L-lysine helps shingles and helps cold sores and herpes type viruses, N-acetylcysteine is one of the 23 essential amino acids, and its benefit, it's an antioxidant, and it's an has immune modulating characteristics that benefit and prevent COVID. So those are the things we recommend for our patients. It may seem like, oh, you have to take a bunch of things, but they've actually made many, many supplements. One is called Immune Active, which has all of those supplements in, so you don't have to take a whole bunch of pills. But this is what we have given to our patients all through the COVID epidemic. And we've not had one active case in the office. We've had no deaths this year, and we've had no hospitalizations this year. So it works, but most of all, get vaccinated. If you're over 20, you need to be vaccinated. That's the best thing you can do to help yourself to stay out of the hospital and also keep yourself healthy. So that's the information I wanted to give you today. I hope it's beneficial to you. If you have any questions or need to have a consultation, my consultation is always free. I will sit down and talk to you and discuss your health issues. If it's something I can help you with, I certainly will. So my last two slides are Mary and I in our favorite place on the beach in North Kaanapali in Maui. And the last one is my finish, which is a sunset over Waikiki looking at Eva Beach. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this. I wish it was in person, but I hope it will give you some good information that you can take home and keep you and your family healthy. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gene, for a wonderful presentation. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any questions? We have time for questions.
Aaron has a question.
I'll let the ladies go first. They want.
Okay.
Oh, Aaron, happy birthday. My
Thank
question
you.
is, how did you test like 100 people for COVID when they're $50 to $100 a test?
No, my son is in the medical supply business. So we bought 250 tests. They're the quick tests, and we had 3 people at the reception desk testing COVID, and we got the results in 15 minutes before we let them in the reception hall.
So unless you buy them yourself, there's no good.
Well, now they're free. You can pick them up any place. Just the post office now. If you apply at the post office, you can get 4 of them per family free.
But if you want 250 of them.
Then you buy them. We bought them
Okay, thank you.
wholesale.
I think Barbara has a question.
Thank you, Gilda. I know that Gene doesn't need any testimonials, but I've been a patient for over 30 years. I've recommended over 20 people, and
More than that.
one thing that Gene didn't say is he really believes in and has really taught me about preventive medicine. And even if I don't feel well, I go to Gene so that I feel better just having been to the office and having sort of a an in-between treatment. It's a positive experience, it's productive, it's educational, and I can't say enough about how lucky we are to have Gene, 1 in Rotary and 2 in San Marino. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Aaron, I think it's you next.
Yes, okay. Dr. Orlowsky, so when I think about chiropractor, I think of someone who works with the back, but it sounds like you do more than that, like some kind of holistic approach to health. Can you talk about what it is you do? What else do you do?
Well, the first thing we do is evaluate people's health with a consultation. We find out where the health issues are, and health issues are usually mental, emotional, biochemical, or structural. And so we figure out where they are. If they're structural, they're obviously going to have some sort of chiropractic care. If they're mental emotional, they may need to have some additional mental health, which we recommend. If they need a psychologist or if they need something additional, we deal with the best professionals in the Los Angeles area. So my referral bin has probably 300 different professionals that we refer to. If it's biochemical, we look at the nutrition, we look at the hormones, and many times I'll send the patient out to a hormone doctor to have the hormones evaluated. Particularly if we see a patient with severe osteoporosis or osteopenia, we want to get that bone loss under control as quickly as possible, because in seniors, falls, accidents, and injuries are the #1 cause of death. So when they fall and break bones, particularly in their thoracic area, it affects their heart, affects their lungs, affects all the different functions. So we check all of that. We look into the person's nutrition. We look into their exercise, and believe it or not, only about 20% of the population exercise. So getting moving is one of the most important things in health. And the word that we use is tone. If you have good tone in your heart, if you have good tone in your vascular system and good tone in your muscles and your skeleton, you're going to stay in pretty good health overall. And if you don't believe that, look at older people. Look at the ones that are really, really healthy, and you'll see they all have good posture and they look 10, 20 years younger than their age actually is. So we work with that. We try to make sure people get proper rest and recuperation and explain why rest is so important. And most people only sleep 4 to 5 hours a night. So they're sleep deprived. And when you're sleep deprived, it lowers your immune system, it causes depression, it causes so many different things. So we work on that aspect as well. And again, on lowering stress and improving attitude. And I always kid around with people, and they always say to me, says, you always see the glasses half empty or half full. And I said, yeah, and you always see the glasses half empty. I said, you got to change your stinking thinking. So when you change the thinking, it changes the body. And again, when we work with the spine, we're actually working with the nervous system. And the nervous system is the master system of your body. It controls and regulates all the other systems. So you get that nervous system functioning, and chiropractic normalizes it. It doesn't increase or decrease function. It normalizes function. When your system is normal, your body will have the best chance to stay healthy. And that's what we do.
Thank you.
That was a comprehensive answer. It was a good question, because yes, that was a good answer. Dr. O, I think Fred had his hand up, and I think Dennis. So we'll go to Fred
Okay.
first.
Thanks. So good to see you,
Great.
Gene. Thanks. It's always great hearing you talk. Question for you is, what's the biggest changes happened for you now across the course of practicing as a chiropractor that you've seen across the years?
The biggest thing is acceptance. I'll give you a little story. In 1980, I had a lady come in with low back pain, and I x-rayed her, and her problem wasn't her back. She had a very, very bad hip. She had bone on bone, and I said, there's nothing I can do for you. I need to send you to an orthopedist. So she said, who's the best guy that I should go to? And I said, well, the best guy in town is George Mulfinger. This is in the early 80s. So I sent the patient to George, and George looked at the lady and said, you went to a chiropractor. He said, what stupid advice did he tell you? And she said, well, he told me to come and see you. Well, after I sent him 4 hip replacements, all of a sudden I get a patient back, and it's referred by Dr. Mulfinger. And I said, oh my God, Dr. Mulfinger referred you. He doesn't like chiropractors. And she goes, no, he hates chiropractors. But he said, if you want to go to a good one, go to Orlowsky. And the interesting thing is I've been dealing with that group, and the biggest change I've seen is that we get so many referrals from medical doctors. I treat 10 or 12 medical doctors on a monthly basis for maintenance. I get a lot of referrals from the top doctors in town, and they do not hesitate to send to chiropractic. And I don't hesitate if I find something that's a medical condition that I can't handle, I refer it out just to that same day. And usually I can get the patient in with the specialty doctor very, very quickly. That's the biggest change I've seen. We've been accepted.
Got it. Thanks.
I have a question. Dennis, did you have a question, Dennis? Yes, no, maybe not.
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have a question. You mentioned 5,000 IU of the vitamin D.
Vitamin
So
D.
I know my doctor has advised 2,000. Should I stay with
Too
the
low.
2,000 or do the
Too
5,000?
low. Too low. Now, it's okay if he did your serum vitamin D3 test and it's normal. If it's normal, stay with your 2,000. But, you know, I go out in the sun. I'm in Hawaii all the time. I walk my dogs every day. I should get more than enough vitamin D3 outside. And when Dr. Tillum did my vitamin D3, I was borderline. So as a result of that, I upped my vitamin D from 5,000 to 10,000. And the next time she checked me, it was normal. So high stress people tend to burn it up a little faster. And I'm a high stress person.
Okay, and then you mentioned the immune active. It combines all of those.
Yes.
Where can we get that from?
I have that at the office, or you can go online to Metagenics and you can buy it online. It's called Immune Active.
And
Take 2
Metagenics,
tabs a day and it'll give you all the things you need for your immune system to strengthen it against COVID.
can you put that in the chat? Are you able to put it in the chat?
I can. I don't know how to do that, but I will.
I know I'm challenging you on your new computer, or you can send it to me and I can get it to
I'll
everybody.
send it to you and you can send it to everybody.
Okay, and then I know
I'm
somebody.
still in the 80s when it comes to computers. I'm very illiterate. So
Yeah.
I'm very glad this talk went well.
Okay. And then I know my visitor Joel wants to know how to get a hold of you. So what's the best way for him to get a hold of you?
He can call me at the office.
Okay,
626-441-2264. Geo Chiropractic on Mission Street.
okay, wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions? Fred, you look like you have a question. No.
Thank you, Dr. O. Really appreciate it. That was fantastic.
And thank you. I've really enjoyed it. I hope I've given you some information that you can use to keep you healthy and well. Thank
And you know, it's nice when we are together, but seeing a craft talk on Zoom is actually nice for the pictures.
Yeah, that's right.
See 'em much better. So thank you.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
saying yes. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Gene. That was fantastic. And thank you, Gilda and Rob, for making this possible. All right. So we are at the end of this meeting. Next week, as you remember, we'll meet again on Zoom, the same Zoom as today, and we'll hear from General David Hicks and the extraordinary enterprise that he put together to, lead people outside of Afghanistan. So that's it for today, and I'm going to adjourn for this meeting for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have
Gene.
a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Jean-Pierre.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a
Gilda,
good day. Have a
Gilda,
good day.
Yes, Barbara.
if we want a copy, a recording of this, do we get it through you?
So I will upload it to a Google Drive and then Chris puts it on our website. So just give him a few days and you'll see it on the website.
It's just great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your testimonial.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Jody.
Bye.
Bye, Lois. I'm glad we figured out who LSM6 is. Is that what you're going to go do, Nicole? You're going to get a bunch of tests? You're muted. You just got a big job for the wedding. That's weird. You're not able to
There.
unmute.
No, yeah, I'm just trying to log out and I can't.
That's weird. Okay, well, I'm going to end the meeting and then all of you.
Yeah,
will-
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, guys.